President Bahram stood in the ruins of the Coalition High Council chamber on their capital world. Around her, the marble halls that had once symbolized galactic order lay broken and silent. Human relief workers moved through the debris, helping Coalition civilians and beginning the long process of reconstruction. "This is President Bahram of the United Human Federation," she began, speaking into cameras that would broadcast her words to every corner of the galaxy. "I stand in the heart of what was once considered the most powerful government in known space." The transmission went out on every frequency, through every communication network, bypassing every attempt to block or filter it. Suho, the chief science officer, had made sure that every sentient being in the galaxy would hear humanity's final message. Behind Bahram, the device that Suho had built hummed with quiet power. It was a testament to human ingenuity, combining technologies from dozens of different colonies into something that could reach across the vast distances between stars instantaneously. "You wanted this war," Bahram said simply, her voice carrying clearly through the transmission. "You looked at us and saw chaos, saw division, saw what you thought was weakness. You decided we needed to be controlled, managed, made civilized according to your standards." In his medical facility on Vorthak Prime, Admiral Zeftar watched the broadcast with growing understanding. The human standing in the ruins of his civilization's greatest achievement was not gloating or threatening. She was teaching. "What you saw as chaos was adaptation," Bahram continued. "What you called division was diversity of thought. What you mistook for primitive aggression was the drive that took us from caves to stars in just a few thousand years." The transmission showed scenes from across Coalition space. Human ships worked alongside Coalition vessels to repair damaged infrastructure. Human medical teams treated wounded Coalition soldiers with the same care they gave their own people. Human engineers shared their technology freely to help restore power to civilian populations. "We tried to join your galaxy as friends," Bahram explained. "We offered trade, culture, cooperation. We wanted to learn from you and share what we had learned ourselves. You chose war instead." Dr. Haywan had compiled the evidence carefully. Every diplomatic overture humanity had made, every offer of peaceful cooperation, every attempt to find common ground. The record was clear. Humans had genuinely wanted to be part of the galactic community. "Now you know what humanity does to those who threaten our freedom," the president said. "But you also know what we do for those who need our help." The images shifted to show human relief efforts across the galaxy. Refugee camps where humans and Coalition civilians worked together. Hospitals where human doctors saved lives without asking about species or political affiliation. Schools where human teachers shared knowledge with students from dozens of different worlds. Captain Dong Hyun oversaw one such relief operation from orbit around a Coalition world. His warship, which had been a tool of destruction just weeks before, now served as a mobile hospital and supply depot. "The Coalition government told its people that humans were monsters," he reported. "But these civilians are learning the truth. We're just another species trying to survive in a dangerous galaxy." In her laboratory on Europa, Dr. Mi-young made the most important announcement of the war. "All human technological advances will be shared freely with any species that wants them," she declared. "We're not interested in maintaining superiority through secrecy. We believe that a stronger galaxy benefits everyone." The offer was unprecedented. No species in galactic history had ever shared their most advanced technology so openly. But humans had always been different, and they proved it once again. Engineer Yejin demonstrated the first technology transfer on live broadcast. Coalition scientists watched in amazement as she explained the principles behind human shield generators, power systems, and faster-than-light communication networks. "Your people are intelligent," she told them. "You just got stuck in one way of thinking. There are always multiple solutions to every problem. You just have to be willing to look for them." Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo made his own contribution to the broadcast from the bridge of his flagship. The massive warship hung in space above the Coalition capital, no longer a threat but a symbol of protection. "The human military will remain active throughout Coalition space for the next year," he announced. "Not as conquerors but as peacekeepers. We'll help maintain order while your governments decide how they want to move forward." It was a generous offer from a species that had every right to demand tribute and submission. But humans had never been interested in ruling others. They just wanted the freedom to exist on their own terms. Colonel Wusung coordinated the transition of military facilities back to coalition control. His forces had captured dozens of strategic installations, but they were already preparing to turn them over to local authorities. "We're not keeping any of this," he explained to confused coalition officers. "We didn't come here to build an empire. We came here to make a point." The point was becoming clear to anyone who cared to see it. Humans weren't the savage destroyers that coalition propaganda had portrayed. They were a young, dynamic species with ideas and capabilities that could benefit the entire galaxy. Ji-hoon had returned to his former role as a merchant captain, but now his ship carried diplomatic passengers instead of secret intelligence agents. Representatives from dozens of worlds were traveling to meet with human leaders, eager to establish new relationships. Half the coalition member species want to leave and join humanity instead, he reported. The other half want to reform the coalition based on human principles. President Boram addressed this directly in her broadcast. "We're not asking anyone to choose between us and the coalition," she said. "We're offering a third option, cooperation between equals." The proposal was radical. Instead of one species ruling over others or multiple species competing for dominance, humans suggested a true partnership, where every world contributed its unique strengths to the common good. Narai coordinated the diplomatic response from Luna Station. Messages of support poured in from across the galaxy, as species after species expressed interest in the new approach to galactic governance. "This is bigger than just ending a war," she observed. "We're reshaping how the entire galaxy thinks about cooperation and conflict." Suho made the final technical contribution to the broadcast. His device transmitted detailed specifications for every weapon and defense system humans had used in the war, along with instructions for building them. "Knowledge belongs to everyone," he declared. "The more species that have access to advanced technology, the safer the galaxy becomes for all of us." President Boram concluded her historic transmission with words that would be remembered for generations. "Humanity is no longer asking for a seat at the galactic table," she said firmly. "We're taking it. The question is, do you want to be our partners, or do you want to find out what else we learned during those millennia of primitive warfare?" The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Humans had demonstrated their military capabilities, but they had also shown their capacity for mercy and cooperation. The choice of which side the galaxy would see was up to everyone else. As the transmission ended, Yansu stepped forward. The new ambassador to Galactic Affairs looked out at the cameras with quiet confidence. "Tomorrow we begin negotiations for a new galactic order," she announced. "One where humanity's voice will be heard and respected. One where every species has the freedom to grow and develop according to their own nature." The Coalition High Council, emerging from their bunkers to survey the controlled destruction of their military and the careful preservation of their civilian infrastructure, finally understood what they were dealing with. These humans weren't conquerors or destroyers. They were teachers, and the lesson they had taught was simple but profound. Never underestimate a species that has spent millennia learning how to survive against impossible odds. The war was over. The real work of building a better galaxy was just beginning, and at the center of it all, humanity stood ready to share what they had learned in their long climb from the caves to the stars. That diversity, adaptation, and cooperation were the keys to survival in a dangerous universe. The galaxy wanted to see what humans would do when pushed to the brink. Now they knew. The real human fleet emerged from behind Jupiter like a force of nature. Admiral Chang Min stood on the bridge of the HSV Persistence, watching coalition ships scramble to reorganize their shattered formations. His dreadnought was 3 times larger than the enemy flagship, bristling with weapons that had never appeared on any intelligence report. "All ships, begin pursuit protocol," he ordered. "Don't let any of them escape to warn their homeworlds about what they've really seen here." The Coalition's Third Fleet, which had entered the solar system with such confidence, was now running for their lives. But they quickly discovered that retreat was not an option. Human ships appeared everywhere, cutting off escape routes with surgical precision. Admiral Zeftar tried to rally his forces, but nothing worked as it should. His ship's communications were being jammed by technology they couldn't understand. Their weapons, which had seemed so powerful hours before, barely scratched human armor. Worst of all, the humans seemed to know exactly what the Coalition would do before they did it. "How are they predicting our movements?" demanded his tactical officer. The answer came from Colonel Wu Sung, whose ground forces had been secretly deployed throughout the asteroid belt for months. Hidden in mining facilities and research stations, his soldiers had been studying coalition tactics and behavior patterns with scientific precision. Every species in the coalition follows the same basic military doctrine, he explained to his team as they prepared for the next phase of the operation. 10,000 years of peace has made them predictable. They have procedures for everything, but no experience with real warfare. Engineer Ye Jin was busy demonstrating humanity's greatest advantage, their ability to adapt and modify technology in the middle of battle. Her team worked frantically to upgrade human weapons in real time, adjusting their systems based on what they learned from each exchange of fire. Coalition armor is strongest against energy weapons, she reported, but they have a weakness in their shield harmonics, adjusting all human ships to exploit it now. Within minutes, human weapons began cutting through coalition defenses like knives through paper. What had been impenetrable barriers became worthless obstacles. The enemy's technological advantage evaporated as humans turned their own systems against them. Dr. Mi Young watched the battle from her laboratory, her mind already working on the next innovations. Their ships are beautiful, she admitted to her assistant. Perfect engineering, flawless construction, but they're all identical. Same strengths, same weaknesses. That uniformity was the coalition's fatal flaw. Human ships built by different colonies with different resources and different ideas were wildly diverse. Some were fast scouts, others were heavy destroyers. Some used energy weapons, others relied on kinetic bombardment. The variety made them unpredictable and nearly impossible to counter. Captain Dong Hyun led a squadron of human fighters in a devastating attack on a coalition cruiser. His ships moved like a pack of wolves, coordinating their assault with an instinct that no military academy could teach. Break formation and attack from all sides, he ordered. Don't let them predict our approach vectors. The coalition pilots tried to respond, but their rigid training worked against them. They followed standard intercept procedures, flying in perfect formations that made them easy targets for human weapons. One by one, enemy fighters exploded under the chaotic but deadly human assault. What impressed Changmin most was how his people adapted to every new situation. When coalition ships tried to ram human vessels in desperation, his crews developed new tactics within minutes. When the enemy attempted to surrender, then opened fire when humans approached, his forces immediately created protocols to handle false surrenders. They learned so slowly, he observed. We adapt to their changes before they even finish implementing them. The battle began to shift from space combat to something more personal. Human boarding parties, led by specialists like Jin Ho, began capturing coalition ships intact. These weren't random attacks, but carefully planned operations designed to gather intelligence and prisoners. Coalition crew quarters are luxurious, Jin Ho reported, as his team secured an enemy destroyer. But their security systems are pathetic. They never expected anyone to actually board their ships. The captured coalition officers were horrified by what they learned during interrogation. Humans didn't just fight differently, they thought differently. Where coalition species saw war as a series of formal engagements between organized fleets, humans saw it as a puzzle to be solved through creativity and determination. Tactical AI specialist Minji unleashed her secret weapon, combat algorithms developed from studying every human conflict in recorded history. Her systems analyzed coalition movements and predicted their responses with terrifying accuracy. They're going to try to form a defensive sphere around their flagship, she announced, before the enemy commander had even given the order. Recommend we attack from below their formation, where their fire arcs overlap. The attack worked perfectly. Coalition ships found themselves firing at each other as much as at human targets. Their perfect formations became death traps as human forces exploited every weakness with ruthless efficiency. But this wasn't just about superior tactics or better technology. The humans were demonstrating something that scared coalition forces more than any weapon: the ability to innovate under pressure. Su Ho coordinated the overall battle from his command center, but he also encouraged individual initiative from every human in the fleet. Ship captains were free to try new approaches. Engineers could modify their systems without waiting for approval. Even ordinary crew members were encouraged to suggest improvements. Coalition forces operate like a machine, he explained to his staff. Every part has a specific function, and they break down when that function changes. We operate like a living organism, adapting and growing stronger with every challenge. The proof was in the results. What should have been a desperate last stand had become a complete victory. The mighty Coalition Third Fleet was being systematically destroyed by forces they had dismissed as primitive savages. Admiral Zeftar made one final attempt to salvage something from the disaster. He ordered all remaining ships to retreat at maximum speed, hoping to escape the solar system and warn Coalition Command about the true nature of human capabilities. He never made it past Mars. Kyung-soo had been waiting in the outer system with a force of human stealth ships that Coalition sensors couldn't detect. As the surviving enemy vessels fled, they ran straight into another perfectly planned ambush. "This is Admiral Kyung-soo of the Human Defense Force," he broadcast to the trapped Coalition ships. "You entered our home with the intention of enslaving or destroying our people. Did you really think we would let you leave to try again?" The final battle was brief and decisive. Coalition ships, damaged and demoralized from their earlier defeat, had nothing left to fight with. Some tried to surrender, others attempted desperate ramming attacks, but the outcome was never in doubt. When it was over, the solar system belonged to humanity once again. But the victory was just the beginning. The humans had captured detailed information about Coalition fleet positions, military capabilities, and political structure. Most importantly, they had prisoners who could provide intelligence about the galaxy beyond Earth. Chung-min looked out at the wreckage of the enemy fleet and felt no satisfaction, only grim determination. "Phase 3 is complete," he reported. "Solar system is secure and enemy forces are neutralized." But everyone knew this was just the first battle in a much larger war. The Coalition would eventually notice that their third fleet had vanished. They would send investigators, then larger fleets, and eventually they would learn the truth about human capabilities. The question was what humanity would do with the time they had bought themselves. Narration was already coordinating with human colonies outside the solar system, warning them to prepare for Coalition retaliation. The secret was out now. There could be no more hiding, no more pretending to be harmless primitives. "Send word to all human settlements," Chang-min ordered. "Tell them it's time to reveal everything. No more secrets, no more disguises. Let the galaxy see what we really are." The hunt was about to begin, and this time humans would be the predators. Coalition Admiral Zeftar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the pathetic human fleet retreat deeper into their solar system. His tactical display showed exactly what he had expected. A broken, scattered defense force running in terror from superior firepower. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Target their largest ships first. Let the smaller vessels watch their protectors die." The first wave of Coalition warships moved forward with practiced precision. Each vessel was a masterpiece of galactic engineering, armed with weapons that could level cities and defended by shields that had never been broken. Against such power, human resistance seemed like a joke. Captain Dong-hyun watched the enemy approach from the bridge of his ship, the HSV Defiance. To Coalition sensors, his vessel looked like a hastily armed cargo hauler, one of dozens of civilian ships pressed into military service. The illusion was perfect. "Enemy fleet entering the asteroid belt," reported his tactical officer. "They're maintaining tight formation, just like we predicted." "All ships prepare to implement Maneuver 7, Dong-hyun said calmly. "Remember, we need to sell this performance." The human ships opened fire first, their weapons flashing uselessly against Coalition shields. Return fire was swift and devastating. One by one, human vessels exploded in brilliant fireballs that lit up the darkness of space. Admiral Zeftar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. As expected, "Their weapons cannot even scratch our armor. This will be over within the hour." But something nagged at him as he watched the battle. The human explosions were too clean, too directed. The debris patterns looked almost intentional. Narration, monitoring communications from her hidden station on Luna, smiled as she listened to Coalition chatter. The enemy was completely focused on their easy victory. They had no idea what was really happening around them. "Time for the first surprise," she said, opening a channel to every human installation in the solar system. "This is Luna Control. Execute Revelation Protocol. Show them who we really are." What happened next changed everything. The asteroid belt erupted into light and fire, but not from Coalition weapons. Every piece of space rock that the aliens had dismissed as natural debris revealed hidden weapon emplacements. Mining platforms shed their disguises to show massive gun arrays. What had looked like scattered asteroid chunks suddenly moved with purpose and intelligence. "What in the void is happening?" Admiral Zeftar shouted as his sensors went crazy with new contacts. Warning alarms filled his bridge as targeting systems locked onto his ships from dozens of directions. The human ships that had been destroyed were reforming. Their debris clouds weren't random wreckage but controlled swarms of attack drones. Each explosion had been carefully planned to release thousands of tiny weapons that now swarmed around the Coalition fleet like angry insects. Jinho activated the final sequence from Europa Station. Across the solar system, every installation that the Coalition had cataloged as civilian infrastructure revealed its true nature. Research stations became fortress platforms. Communication arrays turned into targeting networks. Even small maintenance depots showed hidden weapon ports. "Impossible," Zeftar whispered. "Our intelligence reports showed they had no significant military installations beyond Earth." His tactical officer's voice was strained with disbelief. "Sir, we're reading over 3,000 new weapon signatures. These installations, they're more advanced than our own defensive platforms." The trap was perfect. The Coalition fleet found itself surrounded by weapons they hadn't known existed, built with technology they had believed humans didn't possess. Every advantage they had counted on was gone in seconds. Captain Donghyun's ship stopped its fake death spiral and revealed its true form. What had looked like a converted cargo vessel was actually a stealth destroyer, armed with weapons that Coalition scanners couldn't even identify. "This is Captain Donghyun of the Human Defense Force," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Coalition fleet, you are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and you will be treated with mercy." The response was immediate and predictable. Coalition ships opened fire with everything they had, their pride and anger overriding tactical sense. Energy beams and missile volleys filled space with deadly light. None of it mattered. The human defense grid absorbed the attacks with ease. Shield technology that shouldn't have existed deflected Coalition weapons like rain. Counterattacks came from every direction, precise and devastating. Dr. Mi-young watched from her laboratory as her carefully planted false data was proven wrong in the most dramatic way possible. The real human weapons were centuries ahead of anything the Coalition possessed. Years of secret research had produced technology that made alien science look primitive. "Phase 2 complete," she reported. "Enemy fleet is trapped and their weapons are ineffective against our defenses." Admiral Taeho emerged from his hidden command center, his image appearing on screens throughout the solar system. For the first time, Coalition forces could see the man who had orchestrated their destruction. "Coalition fleet," he said calmly. "You came here expecting to find primitives and savages. You believed your own propaganda about human weakness. You thought our chaos and conflicts made us easy prey." More human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. These weren't the desperate civilian vessels the Coalition had been fighting. These were true warships, sleek and deadly, armed with weapons that made Coalition technology look like ancient relics. "What you saw as chaos was adaptation," Taeho continued. "What you called primitive was potential. Every war we fought, every conflict we survived, taught us lessons about combat that your peaceful empire never learned." The real human fleet began to appear on Coalition sensors. Massive dreadnoughts emerged from behind planets and moons. Stealth carriers decloaked to release swarms of fighter craft. Battle stations that had been invisible moments before lit up with targeting systems. Admiral Zeftar realized with growing horror that everything his people believed about humans was wrong. These weren't primitives who had stumbled into space travel. They were warriors who had been preparing for this moment for decades. "Impossible," he said again, but his voice lacked conviction. The evidence was all around him in the form of weapons that shouldn't exist and technology that defied everything the Coalition thought they knew. Wu Sung, commanding a squadron of human fighters, swooped through the Coalition formation like a bird of prey. His pilots moved with deadly precision, their ships dancing around enemy fire while delivering devastating attacks. "Coalition fighters are trying to engage," he reported, "but they fly like they're on parade. No creativity, no instinct. This is almost too easy." The battle was becoming a rout. Coalition ships built for intimidation and overwhelming firepower, found themselves helpless against human tactics they couldn't understand or predict. Every move they made had been anticipated, every strategy countered before it could be implemented. Suho monitored the engagement from his command post, analyzing coalition responses and adjusting human tactics in real time. They're completely rigid in their thinking, he observed. They can't adapt to anything outside their standard procedures. That was when Nare sent the message that would echo throughout the galaxy. Coalition, fleet. Her voice carried across every communication channel. This is Luna Control broadcasting on all frequencies. You wanted to see what humans do when cornered. You wanted to witness primitive desperation. She paused, letting her words sink in. We tried to warn you. We offered friendship, cooperation, peaceful coexistence. You chose war instead. Now you get to learn what humanity does to those who threaten our freedom. The transmission ended, but its message was clear. The real war was just beginning. The evacuation ships launched from Earth in waves, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. From the Coalition fleet waiting at the solar system's edge, the retreat looked exactly like what it was supposed to look like: complete panic. Admiral Tejo watched the show from his command center buried deep beneath the lunar surface. On his screens, human ships fled in apparent terror, families packed into cargo vessels, military ships scattered like frightened birds. The carefully orchestrated chaos was beautiful to watch. Coalition scanners are tracking everything, reported Narai, his communications officer. They're recording every ship movement, every transmission. They think they're watching us fall apart. Good, Tejo said. Make sure our people know to really sell it. I want the Coalition to think we're completely broken before they even fire a shot. Across the solar system, the performance continued. On Mars Colony, Governor Dong Hyun broadcast desperate pleas for mercy. His voice shook with fake fear as he begged the Coalition to spare the children. Hidden cameras captured colonists loading onto transport ships, their faces showing perfect terror. What the Coalition couldn't see were the modifications those same colonists had been making for years. The mining equipment that could be quickly converted to weapons, the civilian ships with hidden armor plating, the supply depots that were actually ammunition storage facilities. Dr. Mi Young worked in her laboratory on Europa, supposedly preparing scientific data for surrender. In reality, she was creating false technical specifications for human weapons and ships. The fake data made human technology look centuries behind Coalition standards. This should convince them we're harmless, she told her assistant Yejin. According to these reports, our best warships are barely more dangerous than their cargo haulers. The false information was carefully leaked through captured communications and accidentally transmitted on frequencies the Coalition was monitoring. Every piece of fake data supported the same story. Humans were primitives who had somehow stumbled into space travel, but remained far behind true galactic civilizations. Meanwhile, Jinho was busy on Europa Station. The maintenance chief moved through the facility's lower levels, activating systems that had been hidden for years. What looked like water recycling equipment revealed advanced power cores. Environmental processors showed their true nature as sensor arrays. Even the station's garbage disposal system had a secret function. All mining platforms report ready, Jinho said into his encrypted communicator. Asteroid belt positions are active. Jupiter orbital installations are online. Similar reports came from across the solar system. For 5 years, every human facility beyond Earth had been secretly modified. Mining stations became weapon platforms. Communication arrays turned into targeting systems. Even small research outposts revealed hidden defensive capabilities. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. The Coalition had spent years watching human expansion into space. They had seen the mining operations, the research stations, the seemingly chaotic spread of human activity. What they had not seen was the careful planning behind that chaos. Captain Wu Sung commanded the defense fleet that was currently running away from the Coalition forces. His ships looked desperate and disorganized as they retreated toward the inner solar system. Their communications were full of panic and confusion. Coalition fleet is following us exactly as predicted, he reported. They're maintaining formation and moving slowly. They want to savor this. Let them, Tejo replied. The longer they take, the more time our people have to get into position. On Earth itself, the evacuation appeared to be proceeding smoothly. Orbital elevators carried millions of people to safety. Spaceports buzzed with activity as ships loaded refugees. The planet's defensive systems seemed to be powering down in preparation for surrender. President Bahram gave a public speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. Her voice was tired and defeated as she talked about the impossible choice facing humanity. She spoke of the need to preserve human life, even if it meant accepting coalition rule. "We are a young species," she said, looking directly into the camera. "We have made many mistakes. Perhaps it is time to learn from our betters in the galaxy." The speech was perfectly crafted to reinforce coalition beliefs about human weakness. It was also completely false. Hidden beneath Earth's surface, massive installations hummed with power. Weapon systems that had never appeared on any official blueprint came online. The planet that looked defenseless and broken was actually the most heavily fortified world in the solar system. Suho, the chief science officer, monitored the preparations from his bunker. Every piece of the plan was falling into place. The coalition was seeing exactly what they expected to see: a primitive species crumbling under pressure. "Phase 1 is complete," he reported. "All assets are in position and awaiting orders." The timing had to be perfect. Too early, and the coalition might retreat before entering the trap. Too late, and they might actually succeed in their attack before the humans could respond. Chang Min, commanding the real human fleet from its hiding place behind Jupiter, watched the enemy movements carefully. The coalition ships were powerful, but they moved in predictable patterns. Their formations were textbook perfect, which made them easy to plan against. "They fight like they've never faced real opposition," he observed. "Everything by the book, no creativity, no adaptation." That was the coalition's greatest weakness, though they didn't know it yet. 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy had made them soft. They expected everyone else to fight by their rules, using their tactics, following their patterns. Humans had different ideas about warfare. The evacuation ships continued their desperate flight toward the inner solar system. Behind them, the coalition fleet advanced with the confidence of predators stalking wounded prey. They had no idea that every panicked transmission was being carefully recorded. Every ship movement mapped and analyzed. Kyung-soo, monitoring communications from his hidden base, smiled as he listened to coalition chatter. "They're actually arguing about who gets to claim credit for the victory," he reported. "Some of them want to keep human ships as trophies." "Let them dream," Taeho said. "In 18 hours we'll show them what human trophies actually look like." The countdown continued. Across the solar system, thousands of hidden installations waited in silence. Weapons that had never been tested in combat prepared to reveal their capabilities. Ships disguised as harmless civilian vessels shed their false identities. Most importantly, millions of humans who had spent years preparing for this moment took their positions. Engineers, miners, scientists, soldiers, and civilians alike became part of the greatest deception in human history. The coalition wanted to see what happened when humans were cornered and desperate. They were about to find out. The holographic figure stood 12 feet tall in the center of Luna Station's main conference room. Its blue-scaled skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and its 4 eyes looked down at the humans with obvious disgust. Ambassador Hyun-woo tried not to show his anger as the alien spoke. "I am Commander Velthos of the Galactic Coalition," the creature said. Its voice was cold and mechanical through the translation device. "I bring you the final word of the 12 ruling species of this galaxy." Su-jin, Earth's defense minister, sat quietly at the long table. Around her, other Earth officials watched the alien with careful eyes. They had expected this day for years, but it still felt like a punch to the stomach. "Your species has spread beyond your home world without permission," Velthos continued. "You have built colonies on 17 worlds that belong to the coalition. You have ignored our warnings and our laws. This ends now." The hologram waved one of its 6 arms, and images appeared in the air above the table. Pictures of human colonies, space stations, and mining operations floated like ghosts in the room. "These are your crimes," the alien said. "Every human settlement outside your solar system breaks coalition law. Every ship you have built pollutes the space lanes with your primitive technology. Every breath your colonists take steals oxygen that belongs to more deserving species." Hyun-woo felt his hands shake with anger, but he kept his voice calm. "Commander, we have tried many times to join the coalition as peaceful members. We have offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. Your people have refused every attempt. Velthos made a sound that might have been laughter. Join us? You barely understand fire, let alone space travel. Your species still fights wars with each other. You pollute your own planet and destroy your own environment. Why would civilized beings want anything to do with such creatures? The alien's image flickered as it moved closer to the table. But the Coalition is merciful. We offer you one final chance to save yourselves from complete destruction. Sujin leaned forward. What do you want? Complete surrender, Velthos said simply. You will abandon all colonies immediately. Every human will return to Earth within 30 standard days. You will destroy all military vessels and space-based weapons. You will accept Coalition oversight of all human activities. The room fell silent. Through the large windows, Earth hung like a blue marble in the black sky. Somewhere down there, 8 billion people continued their daily lives unaware that aliens were deciding their fate. In return, the alien continued, we will allow your species to exist. You will be classified as a protected primitive species. Coalition ships will patrol your solar system to ensure you never again venture beyond your natural boundaries. Tejo, the aging admiral of Earth's small space fleet, spoke for the first time. And if we refuse? Velthos showed its teeth in what humans might mistake for a smile. Then we will demonstrate why the Coalition has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Your colonies will be destroyed. Your ships will be turned to space dust. Your planet will be corrected. The alien gestured again and new images appeared. Massive warships, bigger than Earth's largest cities, filled the air above the table. Weapons that could crack planets glowed with deadly energy. Thousands of ships arranged in perfect military formations. This is the Coalition's third fleet, Velthos explained. It represents less than 5% of our total military power. It is currently positioned at the edge of your solar system waiting for my signal. Mi-Young, Earth's top scientist, studied the images carefully. She had seen Coalition technology before, stolen glimpses from long-range sensors and captured communications. But seeing it displayed so openly was both terrifying and strangely helpful. You have 72 standard hours to make your decision, the alien said. Surrender completely or face the consequences of defying the natural order of the galaxy. The hologram began to fade, but Velthos spoke once more. Do not think you can hide or run. We know the location of every human in space. We have studied your pathetic weapons and laughable defenses. Resistance would be both futile and brief. The image vanished, leaving the humans alone in the suddenly quiet room. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The weight of the alien's words pressed down on them like a physical force. Finally, Sujin stood up. Well, she said quietly, I guess we knew this day would come. Hyunwoo rubbed his tired eyes. Did we really think they would leave us alone forever? The question now, Tejo said, is what we do about it. The old admiral looked around the table. They're right about one thing. Their fleet could destroy everything we've built in space within hours. Mi-Young was still studying her tablet, looking at the recorded images of Coalition ships. Their technology is centuries ahead of what they think we have, she said slowly. But there are things about those ships that interest me. Such as? Sujin asked. They're all identical, Mi-Young replied. Same design, same weapons, same everything. It's efficient, but it's also predictable. Jinho, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. The maintenance chief from Europa Station looked nervous but determined. Minister, there's something you should know. All of us in the outer system, we've been preparing for this. Sujin turned to look at him. Preparing how? The way you told us to, Jinho said. 5 years ago when you sent out those sealed orders, we've been building, modifying, hiding things. All of us workers, engineers, miners. We've been getting ready. The defense minister nodded slowly. She had hoped those preparations would never be needed. But she had learned long ago that hope was not a strategy. How long do we need? She asked. Tejo checked his watch. If we start now, we can have everything in position within 60 hours. That gives us 12 hours of buffer time. Then we'd better get started, Sujin said. She looked around the table one more time. Are we all agreed? We fight? One by one, each person nodded. They knew the odds. They understood the risks. But they also knew that surrender meant the end of human freedom forever. Very well, Sujin said. Send the message to all human colonies and ships. Tell them it's time to implement Protocol Scarecrow. As the meeting broke up and people hurried to their tasks, none of them noticed Mi-Young's small smile. The aliens thought they knew everything about human technology and capabilities. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Coalition High Command received the news 18 hours after their Third Fleet's last transmission. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo made sure they got every detail of their force's destruction, broadcasting the battle footage on frequencies the entire galaxy could monitor. Let them see what happens when they threaten humanity, he said from the bridge of his flagship as it patrolled the outer edges of Coalition space. Let every species in the galaxy know that we're no longer hiding. The human fleet that had emerged from the solar system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. These weren't the converted cargo ships and mining platforms that Coalition intelligence had catalogued. These were true warships, designed from the ground up for one purpose: winning battles against impossible odds. Dr. Hae-won broadcast from Earth's rebuilt command center, her message reaching every Coalition world simultaneously. The transmission was impossible to block or jam, using technology that Coalition scientists couldn't even understand. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice calm and confident. You have been lied to by your leaders. They told you that humanity was primitive, that we were barely evolved creatures who stumbled into space by accident. The broadcast showed images that contradicted everything the Coalition had claimed. Human cities that rivaled the greatest capitals in the galaxy, technologies that made Coalition science look ancient, ships that moved through space using principles that defied known physics. The truth is that humanity never developed just one path to technology, Hae-won continued. While you built one type of engine, we built dozens. While you perfected one kind of weapon, we created hundreds. Every human colony, every settlement, every ship represents a different approach to the same problems. Admiral Zeftar, one of the few Coalition survivors from the Third Fleet disaster, watched the broadcast from his hospital bed. His injuries would heal, but his pride never would. Everything he had believed about galactic superiority was crumbling before his eyes. The human demonstration of power continued across Coalition space. Ji-hoon, a former merchant captain who had been secretly surveying Coalition defenses for years, led the assault on their supposedly impregnable fortress worlds. Fortress Kethvar is supposed to be the strongest military installation in this sector, he observed as his small fleet approached the massive space station. They've never been attacked in 3,000 years. That streak ended within hours. Human ships didn't just attack the fortress, they dissected it. Instead of throwing massive firepower at strong defenses, they found weak points that Coalition engineers had never considered. Instead of following predictable assault patterns, they improvised tactics that turned the station's own weapons against itself. How are they doing this? Demanded the fortress commander, as his supposedly impregnable defenses collapsed around him. Their ships are smaller than our fighters, but they're cutting through our armor like it's not even there. The answer was simple but terrifying. Humans had spent centuries perfecting the art of asymmetric warfare. Every underdog victory in human history had taught them lessons about defeating larger, stronger enemies. Now they were applying those lessons on a galactic scale. Colonel Wu Sung coordinated ground assaults on Coalition worlds with the same deadly efficiency. His forces didn't fight like any military the galaxy had seen before. They appeared where they shouldn't be able to go, using equipment that shouldn't exist, executing strategies that violated every rule of conventional warfare. Coalition. Ground forces are excellent at fighting other Coalition forces, he explained to his officers as they prepared to assault the military academy on Vorthak Prime, but they've never faced an enemy that refuses to follow their rules. The assault on the academy was both a military victory and a psychological weapon. The Coalition's best military minds training the next generation of officers were defeated by human forces in less than 6 hours. The lesson was clear. Coalition military doctrine was obsolete. Engineer Ye Jin continued to modify human technology in real time, staying ahead of every Coalition countermeasure before it could be implemented. Her workshops had become mobile laboratories, creating new weapons and defenses faster than enemy intelligence could catalog them. They keep trying to adapt to our previous attacks, she reported from her ship as it orbited a burning Coalition supply depot. But by the time they understand what we did yesterday, we're already using completely different methods today. The psychological impact was devastating. Coalition forces began to retreat without fighting, convinced that resistance was hopeless. Some worlds surrendered as soon as human ships appeared in their systems. Others tried to negotiate separate peace agreements. But the humans weren't interested in conquest. They were making a point. Captain Dong Hyun led a humanitarian relief mission to a coalition world that had been evacuated in panic. His ships brought medical supplies, food, and engineering teams to repair damage caused by the hasty retreat. "We didn't come to destroy you," he broadcast to the cowering population. "We came to teach your leaders a lesson about starting wars they can't finish." The contrast was stark. Coalition propaganda had painted humans as savage destroyers, but the reality was complex. Human forces were utterly ruthless toward military targets, but they went out of their way to protect civilian populations and minimize collateral damage. Dr. Mi Young studied captured coalition technology with the same scientific curiosity she brought to everything else. What she found was both impressive and disappointing. "Their engineering is flawless," she admitted. "Every system is perfectly integrated, every component optimized for maximum efficiency. But there's no creativity, no redundancy, no room for improvement." That perfectionism was another coalition weakness. Their technology worked exactly as designed, but it couldn't adapt when circumstances changed. Human technology was messier, more chaotic, but infinitely more flexible. The turning point came when human forces reached the coalition capital system. The massive fleet that defended the galaxy's political center was the largest military force ever assembled, but it might as well have been made of cardboard. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo didn't destroy the capital fleet. Instead, he demonstrated something far more terrifying: complete dominance. Human ships danced through coalition formations, disabling weapons without destroying ships, capturing commanders without killing crews, proving beyond doubt that they could have ended the war whenever they chose. "This is Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo addressing the Coalition High Council," he broadcast from the bridge of his flagship as it sat, motionless in the middle of the enemy formation. "Your fleets are neutralized, your defenses are meaningless, and your military doctrine is obsolete." The coalition leaders, watching from their bunkers beneath the capital world's surface, finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. They had started a war with a species that had spent millennia learning how to win impossible conflicts. Suho coordinated the final phase of the demonstration from his mobile command center. Every human ship, every weapon, every tactical system worked together in perfect harmony despite being built by different colonies using different technologies. "This is what diversity looks like," he explained to the captured coalition, officers who were forced to watch their military collapse. "You built one perfect military machine. We built 1,000 different ones, and then taught them to work together." The war was effectively over, though the coalition hadn't officially surrendered yet. Their fleets were scattered, their fortresses captured, their confidence shattered. Across the galaxy, member species began to question whether the coalition's leadership was worth the cost of continued resistance. But the humans weren't finished. They had one more demonstration to give, one final lesson to teach about the price of underestimating a species that had climbed from caves to stars through sheer determination and adaptability. Nare prepared the final broadcast from Luna Station, the same place where the coalition had delivered their ultimatum weeks before. This time the message would be going in the other direction. "Coalition High Council," she began. "You wanted to see what humanity would do when cornered and desperate. You have your answer. The question now is what you're going to do about it." The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how this impossible war would end.